Hola, hola. My name is Ricardo. I am the host of the Lucha Jovers podcast here in the Voices of Wrestling podcast network. We are a Spanish speaking show dedicated to discussing and analyzing pro wrestling from all across the world. From AW to CMLL, we talk about American wrestling, Japanese wrestling, and of course, Lucha Libre. If something big happened in the pro wrestling world, we will talk about it. So if you know Spanish or have a friend that knows Spanish or want to practice your lucha libre pronunciations, go listen to the Lucha Jovers podcast right here in the Voices of Wrestling podcast network. Nos vemos por ahí.
Do you like wrestling trivia? Then check out the 5-Star Match Game, the Pro Wrestling Quiz Show. I'm Joe Gagney, and every episode, I grill 3 contestants with 5 rounds of power-packed wrestling trivia. We have over 30 evergreen episodes in the archives covering WWE, AEW, Japan, Mexico, and much, 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 much more. Play along at home and check it out today.
This podcast is a member of the Voices of Wrestling podcasting network. Visit voicesofwrestling.com to hear the rest of our great podcasts, as well as show reviews, columns, opinions, and updates across the world of wrestling.
Hello everybody and welcome to the Super J-Cast. I'm Joel. It is Saturday the 9th of September 2023. This is episode 272. Housekeeping, first of all, I apologise for my audio quality maybe being slightly more shit than it usually is. I'm at my parents' house on the weekend and I did ask my dear wife to bring my microphone for me. She didn't do that. I'm not blaming her. I probably should have packed it myself, but just stating what happened. So sorry if the audio is more shit than usual. Not that anyone would care at this point. I don't think the audio quality is going to be running anyone off at this point. And okay, so Damon is still taking a little bit of break. A lot of people have asked how he is. He's doing okay. He's fine. He just needs a little bit of a sort of mental health break from the podcast, as we all do from time to time. I mean, I took a bit of time off last summer as well. So he's just got a few little things that he needs to deal with. He's okay. Hopefully he'll be back next week. If not next week, then very, very soon. But we have a big treat this week because we are joined by our favorite Discord boss, best co-hosts, the super J-Cast Hall of Famer herself, BoozeLeprechaun. Thank you so much for stepping in and being my co-host today.
Ore Sanju. It's great to be.
What does that mean?
I'm stealing it from Kamen Rider Den O, which is a form of greeting that one of the main characters always gives. So, being a little extra nerdy on a nerdy podcast.
Love it. We're going to get right in the weeds this week, aren't we? Because there's not a huge amount of New Japan stuff to discuss, so we can do some sumo talk. I mean, we haven't had sumo talk on the J-Cast since you were last on.
Yeah. And boy, is there a lot to talk about.
Yeah, so anyone who's not a fan of sumo, you can just kind of mash the fast forward button at this point because let's get straight into it, Booze, because you are very close to taking a massive victory lap on something that you mentioned last time we recorded together, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I guess, I don't know if this is a victory lap that I really wanted to take, and it's basically the status of lone Yokozuna Terunofuji. Terunofuji's health has not been stellar. His knees, his back, just about everything is slowly continuing to fall apart on him. So he missed a couple boss shows. And then he comes back in the May boss show and he wins it. And then he's in the July boss show and he pulls out after 5 days. It was just announced yesterday that he's going to miss the boss show that starts tomorrow, Waki Aki, as it is affectionately known as, because of his knees. And the best part is Kyoto News, in reporting it, as a kind of filler photo in the news article, chose a photo of him at the last boss show getting the purple cushions, the Zabotons from Sumo Hall rained down upon him after he gave up a kimboshi. So I love the level of petty from the Japanese media right now. concerning their very unhealthy lone Yokozuna. I then on Twitter last night, in posting that article, kind of threw out my prediction that I personally think that if he cannot go in November, he will retire. I think I said just straight up in January, before the January Boss show. Arimathea in our Discord was apparently talking to some Japanese friends after the Terunofuji announcement, and that is potentially the rumor that's kind of starting to swirl around, is that if he can't go in November, he's either because he's going to, just from a health reason, or possibly pressure from the Yokozuna Council, have to retire. And so, yes, technically that would be a victory lap for me. Because, yes, the last time we talked, I think I actually did say that I expected him to retire by like 2024. And I think
and that would...
No, and I think...
Yeah, so I was just going to say that will be the first time we're left without a Yokozuna for how long?
Oh.
When is that last time that happened?
I would have to... Let me see if I can do this. Because the Germans love their databases. So besides Cage Match, some Germans have put together a reference for sumo that goes back in terms of all the records to like the 1400s. It's insane. Let me see the best way to search for this. Basically, the answer is going to be in a very, very long time have they not...
I just Googled it. I mean, you tell me if this is correct. The last was from May 1992 when Hokutomi retired until March 1993 when Akebono was promoted. Akebono, this is the same Akebono that pro wrestling fans will be familiar with.
Yes. Yeah, that sounds good to me. So it's not very rare. It doesn't happen very often, I should say. Yeah, and I look at the current crop of Ozeki, and
remind me who they are, because I'm the lack of as many YouTube options. It was Kintamayama was the one that I usually followed, and he sort of disappeared. I guess he got DMCA, but I didn't follow the last bash as closely as I would normally have done. And yeah, just refresh my memory. Who's the current crop of Ozeki, and what are their chances of making it to the big belt?
So the current crop of Ozekis is Takakeisho, Hoshoryu, and Kirishima, who is the artist formerly known as Kiribayama. Those are our Ozeki. Kiribayama is already Kadoban, because he couldn't get through his first basho as Shin Ozeki without having to miss a hunk of it due to injury. And then when he came back, he could not produce a winning record. Takakeisho is I'm scrolling through the database. Let me see. Takakeisho missed the last basho, so he is, I believe, also Kadoban. And that leaves us with Hoshoryu, who is the nephew of former Yokozuna Asasoryu, and is Shin Ozeki this basho, and he won the last basho to seal his.
So basically, there's a non-zero chance that by the end of the next basho we have 0 Yokozuna, 1 Ozeki, and just a big old mess at the top.
Yeah, pretty much. I'm not. I think if it's not Hoshoryu as your potential future Yokozuna, and I think if that's going to happen, I think it's going to be 2024. I don't think they're desperate. Now, granted, let's say he wins Waki Aki and he wins the November basho, and Terunofuji does not look like he's coming back. I'm going to say there's a greater than 0 chance you could open up January with a Shoryu as Shin Yokozuna. I'm putting it at, I'm not going above 10%, but if things happen, it's not outside of the realm of possibility.
And how do you view this landscape at the moment? Is this like, do you see this kind of power vacuum as an exciting thing with lots of opportunity for upward mobility, or do you think this is a landscape starved of anyone at the top who can actually put together a decent run?
Landscape starved at the top of anybody that can put together a decent run. I just find it very dire. I want to cheer Hoshoryu on. I want to put my stock in him and be okay. You're the guy I'm gonna ride to Yokozuna. But I've put on that clown mask so many times in the last couple of years that I'm afraid I'm gonna get burned again. I also think
were you a fan of Asashoryu? Because obviously he's for people who don't know, he was like the bad boy Yokozuna of the sumo world and did lots of naughty things, which is very controversial. I can't remember off the top of my head what those naughty things are. Maybe you can refresh my memory and let us know. Like, is that did you enjoy his run at the top, and is that sort of familial connection to Hoshoryu making you view Hoshoryu more favorably, or is that a negative in your eyes, or just blank slate for him?
Blank slate for him, because it's actually very funny in that. So some of the things that, like the final straw for sumo and Hoshoryu was that, oh hey, I can't participate in these things as Yokozuna, and then he was in a charity football tournament back in his home Mongolia. And just all sorts of insanely, wildly disrespectful things. You can Google it. It's just kind of pales. But it's, with Hoshoryu, I view it sometimes in a way of that separating the art from the artist kind of thing. Or that there are sportsmen that are complete, personality-wise, are not people that you would want to, say, hang out in a bar with or be friends with. Because they just are raging assholes, but in their actual profession are really fucking good and fun to watch, or instrumental. And Hoshoryu is one of those, as kind of one of the first great Mongolian Yokozuna, and his fights with Hakuho are some great things to watch. Jason, so the reason why there's no Kintamayama is because, so all of a sudden, he, Jason, and Nato were getting hit with DCMAs. They think it's because Sumo was finally putting out their own kind of YouTube program for English speakers. And it was more of, here's
is that Primetime Sumo?
Yes. Yeah. So that is the kind of general belief, is that because that started popping up is why all of a sudden the three of them started getting hit with DCMAs, because broadcasters, the sumo broadcasters, were completely aware of the existence of, like, especially Kintamayama and Jason. So he's taken a little sabbatical to be writing a book, but there is, on the English speaking side, and I can't believe I'm blanking on his name, but one of the sumo commentators actually did a podcast with Kinta and Jason previewing one of the Ba shows. And that's when Mitakeumi and Shodai were both debuting, and all three were like, oh yeah, Shodai is going to be the next Ozeki. And so sumo broadcasters were completely aware of what was going on. But all of a sudden, Primetime Sumo pops up on the scene, and that's when everybody got hit with DCMAs. Two Redditors were very clever and had started an archive project, independent of one another. And they both started on Jason's, but one went from the beginning of Jason's archive, which is about 13, 14, 15 years old, maybe even older. So they started grabbing matches from the beginning of that time, and another guy went from, at that time, the most recent, and going backwards. And the two of them realized that they were working on the same project before everything got ripped down by YouTube, and realized that by happy coincidence between the two of them, they had the entirety of Jason's archive. So if you actually go to the Internet Archive, they've uploaded everything there. And you can watch it in all its glory. Because Jason's got a lot of old stuff. He's got like a Shoryu, Hakuho matches. I think he's got some pre-Yokozuna Hakuho. He's got pre-Yokozuna Harumo Fuji. I mean, that's how far his stuff goes back. And then Kenta Mayama kind of had to show his mask and take that off and go to Rumble. And I think he's putting his stuff up on Rumble. So your mileage is going to vary on that. And then Nato just apparently doesn't care and keeps trying to get, just pops up on YouTube. And then Jason's actually back on YouTube too. So, and is...
So they're like the Kieran RH of the sumo world.
Yes, exactly. Keep surviving. But to go back to the original...
Like a cockroach in a nuclear holocaust.
Yeah. But he's our cockroach, so...
Yes. A little pet cockroach, you know. Sorry, Kieran. We like you, really.
Yeah. Hey, he's my fellow Charlton Attic supporter, so we're in that
great
together.
Segue there. Great segue, because we've got a question from a friend of the show, Nick, who I was lucky enough to enjoy a drink with before the RevPro show. He says, how does Booze feel about the appointment of Michael Appleton? He was awesome for us at Oxford. You got yourself a good one there, in my opinion. So now taking off the sumo hat, putting on your addict hat, your Charlton Athletic hat, talk to us about Michael Appleton, please.
Everyone's learning that I have this incredible capacity for self-loathing and hatred, in that I continue to support Charlton Athletic, even though it's been a complete shit show. All
right, let us know, for those who are uninformed, can you, in a nutshell, why is it a shit show? What's going on with your football club?
We've had 4 owners in the last 5 years. One of those owners was apparently the only Middle Eastern sheikh that didn't have a pot to piss in. I don't know how he managed that.
You got a fake sheikh?
Yeah, I got fake sheikh. Then I got a dollar store Shad Khan in the form of Thomas Sandgaard, who put his failed son in a position of power in the team. His wife was putting out press statements, and Thomas Sandgaard wrote a heavy metal Metallica ripoff cheer song for Charlton that he then wanted to have replace Red Red Robin as a song that the team comes out to when they play games at the Valley. Then we had Roland Duchâtelet, who still owns the Valley, by the way. Sold the team, but he still owns the grounds. That Belgian bastard. And we've got a group right now that's a bunch of people, and they've all got little bits of money involved. And they fired Dean Holden before the end of the transfer window. And I liken it to the hot dog guy meme. I don't know where that comes from, but the dude in the hot dog suit that's like, I'm trying to find the guy that's responsible for all of this.
Okay, that is I Think You Should Leave with Tim Robbins, which is one of my favorite shows. So let's get that name correct, because I love that show. It's really good.
Okay. But, and we're like, and they're like, oh, and he's, and well, we've only won like 2 games out of 6 or whatever, and we should be performing better. And it's like, but y'all brought in a bunch of dudes during the transfer window that are just loans or freebies and no real ambition. And you're mad at Dean Holden that you gave him like a shit sandwich and you expected some 3-star Michelin, make Uncle Roger happy egg fried rice? Come on now. Michael Appleton, I personally don't have a problem with. He's been in 4 different divisions. Yes, fans at Oxford have all kind of, as a group, popped into the different social media posts about him being our new head coach, not our manager, because that's another thing. They're like, no, we're gonna go with the head coach model, so he can just focus what's happening on the grass. And I, Andy Scott, as technical director, I'm going to focus on everything else, which I hope works. That okay, you're not going to have to worry about all the kind of backroom stuff. You just worry about these kids that were you're being fed to put on the pitch to make a team, and you can get some wins, and we don't get relegated out of League One into League Two. I'm trying to be positive, but I've seen it's a bit like sumo, where it's just been so much heartache and heartbreak and frustration, and you get excited. I've lost count of the number of managers, head coaches, gaffers, interims to the interims that we've gone through. And again, the last 5 years, it's been rather impressive. So, I'm hoping for the best, and, I'll support our head coach, because I have no reason to think that if we don't succeed, if we don't succeed, I don't feel it's going to be his fault. I think it's just going to be because he's not been given an opportunity for within a couple of transfer windows to get in the guys that he wants to get in to play the system that he wants to play. Because that's been a big problem too, is that we haven't had really good transfer windows, and the last few guys have not even had an opportunity to go through 2 or 3 transfer windows and to really properly build a squad. It's been a lot of just knee-jerk reaction. So, we'll see. I just putting that clown mask on. Just putting that clown mask on.
I'm worried that I've really bummed you out before we even got to talking about New Japan with the depressing sumo talk, depressing Charlton talk. Let's have a fun question. Tyler Forness is co-host of the Good, the Bad, and the Hungry, the All Elite Wrestling podcast on the Voices of Wrestling podcast network. One of the few Freakazoid 2 I actually like. He says, how would a Whataburger spicy ketchup crisp taste?
I think, well, first off, for those of you that don't know, Whataburger is a hamburger chain based in Texas. A couple years ago was bought out by some Chicago equity investors. So I think Whataburger is kind of slowly moving across the country. So it's sitting as a competitor to say like In-N-Out and, those type of burger places. And then their thing is they've got all these different condiments and fancy condiments. And one of them is the spicy ketchup, which Tyler loves. I'm going to break Tyler's heart when I say I don't like the spicy ketchup. I am actually a creamy pepper fan. So, but I'm imagining that a spicy ketchup crisp is just going to taste like a ketchup crisp, but spicy.
Yeah, I think I may have had some Japanese brand. What's the Japanese brand? Because I can't remember off the top of my head, but I definitely had some that were really good, and also some spicy mayonnaise flavored ones, which were sort of a bit like the British prawn cocktail flavor, but with a little bit of a spicy kick to it. So I've not tried Whataburger or their spicy ketchup, but I imagine it'll be pretty good. I mean, I am just living in crisp dreamland at the moment. We're in the home of crisps in the UK, and my favourites, of course, being the Co-op, the sea salt and Chardonnay vinegar crisp. They are the best. They'll take the skin off your tongue. But if anyone wants to send me Whataburger spicy ketchup, I will gratefully accept it and review it on the show, and also imagine what a crisp flavour of it would taste like, and let you know whether I would enjoy that as well.
We can actually make that happen, because Whataburger's taken their most popular condiments, one of which is the spicy ketchup, and you can buy that in stores. And I actually, a couple of years ago, bought a couple bottles and sent it to Tyler.
That is awesome. And he sent me a load of Buffalo Wild Wing sauces. I think it was shortly before the pandemic, actually. So out of all the things I lost when I was moved from China to Thailand without knowing I was moving permanently, all my Buffalo Wild Wing sauces are some of the things that I'm very sad about. And also this amazing chili jam that Velky from the Discord made and gave me in Tokyo. That and the cats, of course.
Right, yeah.
Can't be a gutty, but the condiments as well. I mourn the loss of the condiments.
We're gonna have to as a Discord fix your condiments situation.
Yeah, condiment charity drive for Joel.
There you go.
Yeah, that'll be the next campaign. I'll make a special T-shirt just for it. Okay, right. So we've got like 25 minutes. Maybe it is time to move on to New Japan talk, unless there's anything else off topic you want to talk about before we talk about the wrestling.
No, but I mean, how are you? We know you're in the UK. I mean, are the kids getting settled in yet? Is Mally getting kind of settled back in? I imagine, especially for the kids, that it's, because they've only ever really known Thailand, except for I guess that last summer when y'all went to visit family. But how have they handled a very big move and suddenly not being able to hang out with their friends and the totally different vibe?
Thanks for asking. They are loving it. They absolutely adore it here because, they're too young to sort of understand that they are leaving Thailand and they're not going to see these people anymore. Esther's very sociable. She makes friends really easily. She'll just go up to random people and be like, "What's your name?" "I'm Esther." And just start chatting to them. "Oh, here they come." So here's the first run-in of the evening. No, but they are really enjoying it, despite the distressed crying you can hear in the background. They love all the nature and just, being able to explore forests and beaches and parks and things like that. Esther has started school. She started at the same school that I work at. So she is absolutely loving the fact that we see each other all throughout the day because it's a really small school. So her first day, she was just like wandering into my classroom and sitting down with my year 5 and 6 kids, just be like, "What you doing, Daddy?" And then her teacher will come running and be like, "No, Esther, you're supposed to be with me in your classroom over here." But it's really cool that we get to see each other throughout the day. So that's good. Like, my new class are great, wonderful kids. Mally is enjoying herself. So yeah, we're all having a great time. Thank you for asking. Yeah, and also the time difference for watching New Japan, a little bit less convenient than it was in Thailand. But most of the shows are on sort of mid-morning at the weekend. So I woke up this morning, had a cup of coffee. My dad made me a BLT, so I was sitting there, my coffee, my BLT, watching Road to Destruction and just living my best life.
Oh!
Yes, thank you. You're ruining the podcast. Well done.
And see, that's how you know that Abraham is a happy family right now.
You said fappy family there.
Mally's come back. Mally's back.
Yes, Mally's back. It's been a while, hasn't it, since she sabotaged one of our podcasts?
Yeah. But I appreciate that Esther, that no matter where she is, she manages to do run-ins. Nothing stops her.
That's right. That's the evolution of the podcast, isn't it? It started off with cat run-ins. Now it's baby and wife run-ins. So this is what people are tuning in for. This is why you tune into the Super J Cast each and every week. I know for a fact we've got one very special new listener this week, and he must be thinking like, "What the fuck am I listening to here? These guys this is the top podcast in the fandom." We're not. Go and listen to Keeping It Strong Style. They're actually vaguely professional sounding.
Yeah, but does Keeping It Strong Style have a porn guy?
They don't. Talk to us about the porn guy. We need to hear more about the porn guy.
No, so porn guy, I think I've talked about John before. I have a couple friends that I've talked about in the podcast before named John. So I have John, porn guy, that does porn reviews and was able to kind of get me some photos of Riley Reid for Damon back in the day. And then I've got former Cigar, because he retired, John. He's also my WWE wrestling watching buddy. So, but no, porn guy John is, so I've known that John since like maybe 2007, 2008. And he does many things, but one of which is that he does porn reviews. And he also pays for a lot of porn just on the side for his own personal pleasure, besides the job of reviewing porn. And I've been sent over the years many photos of boxes of porn that he gets monthly, and it's quite impressive. But he's a lovely chap, and I always say he's a brother from another mother, whose birthday was a couple days ago, and completely no-sold the text message that I sent, wishing him a happy birthday. So, but I appreciate him popping up and giving my appearance on the JCast the porn guy seal of approval.
Yeah, if one day we do expand to doing a Patreon, which is never going to happen because I can't even manage to get one decent 2-hour podcast out a week, let alone additional content. Porn reviews would be right up our street. So it's very much in keeping with the spirit of the Super J Cast. So always good to have a porn guy affiliated with a show.
Yes.
Right, 29 minutes, still not managed to get onto any wrestling talk. All right, I'm going to make one final attempt here. Okay, so we've got a couple of news items to deal with before we get onto talking about Road to Destruction, which will probably last about 10 minutes because there's not that much to say. So I will let you decide, Booze. Would you like to talk about Fale Dojo or Kevin Kelly first?
You know, we already started like the sadness train, so we might as well just keep it going with the Fale Dojo.
Right, the sadness train. Yes.
just keep riding it, and so that also then will make Antonio happy, in that I'm not dodging him in addressing an item that we said in the tweet that you were responding to that we were going to cover. So.
Yeah, if I've said in the tweet that we are recording later to discuss and the Fale Dojo reports, don't need to tweet us saying, what are your thoughts on the Fale Dojo reports? It's coming. It's implied by the original tweet. You're good. Just rest easy.
But I guess I should be happy that I didn't get questions about Portuguese football. Because
there is some stuff, I don't know what these questions are about. I mean, there's some about Kevin Kelly, which, of course, we're going to talk about that. I'm going to read this one from Antonio. I decided to join, plus some of your listeners also convinced me to do so. I already let Obari know about it. Personally feel whole situation is very unhuman. I mean, it's slavery. Question, what's the update about situation? What's BLF? Oh, okay. No, he's talking about Fale. Okay. Yeah. What is BLF punishment according your sources in regards to this? All right. Well, let's get on to talking about it. So this was a story that popped up on Reddit, where someone who'd attended the Fale Dojo basically took a massive shit on it and exposed a lot of the malpractice that was going on there, the terrible treatment that they received at the hands of one of the head trainers, Tony Cosina, the way Fale was basically very slack and hands off and allowing all this to take place. The facilities were terrible, just loads of people crammed into a house in various states of disrepair, load of people sleeping on the floor, sleeping on mattresses. This is not the sort of tip-top dojo wrestling training that you would expect from something that is affiliated and branded with the line mark. And I will also add that this is not a story that I stumbled upon by accident. I don't spend a huge amount of time browsing Reddit, I must say. This was sent to me unsolicited on Twitter by... well, I'm not going to say by who, but sent to me, and I shared it. And then I also got another unsolicited direct message from, again, someone who is in the know saying, yes, this is all true. So you take that for what it's worth. I mean, I think that speaks volumes. The fact that this is not something that I stumbled across. This is something that various people who it's related to this situation wanted to get out there, because people don't just DM me stuff for no reason. If people share information with me, there's usually an agenda, because they acknowledge the small role that the JCast plays in the fandom. If they share stuff with us, it's because they want it out there. So I suspect that this is not an isolated case of one person who is a bit of a crybaby and had a bad time there. This seems to be exposing systematic malpractice where the Fale Dojo is concerned.
Yeah, and if you go in it's on Reddit. We've both posted the Reddit link, and then I went back to it a couple days after the initial post, and there's all these replies, and there's a couple other people that roll in there going, "Oh yeah, I had a similar experience." So it's ultimately not one, as you just said, not one crybaby that wasn't tough enough. It's a few other people rolled in and basically raised their hands and said, yeah, I've seen some stuff too. And then another person rolled in talking about Jack Bonza owing people in Australia money for the Tamashi shows.
Oh, yeah, that was the other thing. So the Tamashi shows, which is supposed to be the showcase of all the dojo talent, apparently mostly filled with people from the indies and nobody getting paid for that. So the whole thing just sounds like a massive grift, just a boys' club where all the money's just getting funneled into the pockets of the people who are running it. And it's absolutely shambolic. And once this thing, I started to get quote retweets from the Japanese fan base, and I think when that starts to happen, then people in the office start to set up and take notice. So I heard that the office was investigating to some extent. I mean, I'm not going to hold my breath for a huge investigation and people being punished or whatever. I don't think that's going to happen. Apparently, they don't actually have the line mark anymore. Some of the main posts that the dojo posted yesterday don't have the line mark. So I don't actually know if they have been officially associated as the feeder school since they were the New Zealand dojo in 2020. So I don't even know if the office is going to do anything. But from what I've heard, I mean, everyone associated, anyone who covers the Oceania wrestling scene, just absolutely zero surprise here. They're like, well, of course, everyone, this is like the biggest non-secret in the industry over there. Everyone knows this about Kozina and Bonza and Fale. And apparently a lot of the indie scene guys over there have been reporting them for illegal activity to actual government departments. So this is something that's even going beyond the remit of New Japan Pro Wrestling and any reputational damage they may receive by association.
What I find interesting in hindsight is that we can see the genesis of all of this in that Lion's Roar docuseries. It's all there.
Which we praise, right?
Yeah.
Well, I think we recorded together talking about, this is great, pipeline of fresh talent. What a great job they're doing. Excited to see these guys. And the three guys that we were told, these are the graduates. They're going to be coming over to Japan. Can't find them with a fucking search party.
Exactly. And we were sitting there and we were praising it. And, we were seeing Michael Richards' redemption story, and we were all coming away with warm fuzzies. And then we see at the end him, I think it's Jake Taylor and Andrew Villalobos are the three that at the end of the series are told, hey, your contracts have gotten picked up. And as soon as the borders open, you're going to Japan. You're going back to Japan. And it's this great, warm, fuzzy feeling. And it never happened. And I think I know I asked you a couple times when they would announce these shows once everything dropped and be like, hey, have you heard anything about when the three Fale guys are gonna pop up in New Japan and we can see them? And obviously nothing ever happened. And I think Jake is doing a show. I don't think it's a Tamashi show, but somebody was saying that he's kind of been on the indie scene, and his gimmick is that he's a real wrestler, kind of almost like a Shibata, I think maybe type character, just kind of based on his render. And I think Villalobos is either doing some indie stuff or possibly not due to injuries. And then I'm not sure what Michael Richards even still in wrestling, or is he kind of more in that kind of bodybuilding vein of things now?
From what I can tell, he is still doing some wrestling and also bodybuilding, but no sign whatsoever of anything New Japan related materializing.
It's like we sat there, and I can remember there is a whole section in that Lion's Roar documentary about them taking that Fale family bungalow and repurposing it into a housing situation. And we're watching them load these mattresses in, and we're seeing like more than like two guys to a room. And none of us thought to raise our hands and go, hey, this doesn't feel right. Because A, we were just all starved for content because we were all still kind of stuck inside because of the pandemic. And we're feeling good because we're seeing these kids develop. And I don't know about you, but I think subconsciously, I probably just assumed, well, surely they'll, fix up the house and get kind of proper accommodations for all these strapping young lads. But then come to find out that Fale can't even feed them. Because did you read the second perspective from the Fale Dojo? Did you read that one?
I think I did, but just remind me, give us the cliff notes for anyone who didn't see it.
So I'm going to scroll down here. So I'm going to quote here. When we all moved in to start the intake, there were not enough beds for each person. This resulted in a guy sleeping on the couch for over a week and only getting a bed once another student had quit. The bed that he got to now sleep on was broken by the previous student and never fixed, so he fell through the bed slats multiple times a night. When we asked management if we could get a couple foam mattresses for $80 each from a New Zealand store, we were told no. We were then told to search Facebook Marketplace for free mattress and cheap bed bases for beds. One student had gone completely broke while training. This is due to food promised when you signed up, and the student hadn't saved enough for the amount of food he truly needed and had to ration his food to barely one meal a day. This resulted in him quitting the intake due to fatigue. Others in the house were buying him meals. Support in the way of food was not offered to the student. The only support he had was that he was, quote, allowed, unquote, to stay in the house until he could get a job and move out. Fale Dojo, allegedly, couldn't even feed their students. Now, I don't know about you, but in all the times that I watched Fale as a young boy in a New Japan ringside, it didn't look like he missed a meal. Looked like New Japan was feeding him 3 meals a day. And obviously it wasn't the and we know from stories that both he and Tamatanga have told and others have told throughout the years that training in a New Japan dojo is not a walk in the park. It's not a vacation. And it sometimes it could be viewed as, in terms of like malpractice or inhumane by Western standards. And I get all that. But again, at least New Japan could feed you and make sure you didn't go hungry. And I'm sorry, if you can't even feed your own students and you're still able to look yourself in the mirror and proclaim yourself to be, a trainer for New Japan and to be part of New Japan, I don't know what to say about you, man, because you're clearly not a normal, rational, compassionate human being. If you can go to bed and sleep well each night, knowing that you got young men in your care that you can't even feed more than 1 meal a day, and you make it their fault.
I know the dojo is supposed to be tough. It's not supposed to be it sounds like a prisoner of war camp.
Right.
It's not like I expect if you're going to go inside, you're going to find a bunch of skeletons in there.
At least in prison, you get at least a couple meals a day. They're not the greatest meals in the world, but you get a couple meals a day. And we've heard from people that you can even get like a nice little bag of crisps. They're getting bags of crisps. And we got kids in the Fale Dojo.
No prison crisps.
Yeah. Not even prison crisps for the Fale Dojo bunch. It's just, okay, how much money you got? That's how much food you're getting for the day. Just insane. Absolutely insane and embarrassing. And I guess ultimately that's all New Japan can really do is take the lion mark off tell Fale to take it off the doors and, all the iconography, if he's actually done that. And, you would kind of hope that maybe they don't renew his contract at the beginning of the year. I am interested in the fact that we haven't seen Fale for a while. So who knows? And I would love, I'm assuming like the LA Dojo guys didn't have to like pay for food, right? Like maybe they weren't getting paid like a proper wage, but they were at least getting paid, right? We don't have any stories of Carl Fredericks having to like steal some whatchamacallits because they can't feed him enough chanko in the LA Dojo, right?
Right, sorry, I'm just running from room to room because Esther's chasing me, so just trying to get some sort of fidelity with the audio here. But yes, didn't hear that happen either. Just very, very depressing. Hopefully something gets sorted out either on the New Japan side or if it's like the New Zealand government getting involved. But just really, really shitty stuff all around, which I guess leads us to transition on to previewing the next Tamashi show. So first match is going to be Johnny Gardner versus Vincent D. No, we're not going to preview the Tamashi. We're not going to watch it. I think we should boycott Tamashi in protest for this appalling treatment.
All I want to know about Tamashi is that are they going to have a couple cardboard containers outside the venue to where people can leave off canned good donations.
Oh, Christ. To Mashi branded food bank. Oh, dear. They're just posting through it as well, just like acting like
Nothing's wrong.
nothing's going wrong. Here we are, 6th match. Jack Bonza and Bad Luck Fale versus the Joker and the Thief. We know who the real thief here is.
We know who the real Joker is. Oh my God. You could make
That's
that
a bit
up.
on the nose, isn't
Yeah.
it? The Joker and the Thief.
Oh. It's a Spider-Man meme.
Jesus Christ. Okay. Well, so more depressing stuff. Kevin Kelly. So Kevin not really announced. I mean, he replied to someone on Twitter basically saying that he was wrapping up his time with New Japan. If I remember the tweets correctly, I believe he said he was going to be done after New Year Dash next year, largely because of family. You know, his wife doesn't want him to keep doing that travel, and I completely get that. I mean, I'm honestly surprised he did it as long as he has done, especially through all the pandemic and everything. And look, if I was in the same position and Tony Khan came knocking on my door with a big bag of money, asking me to do less work and less travel for a fuckload more money, you bet your ass I would be saying yes as well. So I'm never going to begrudge, you know, people like Aussie Open or Kevin or whomever for taking that bag and improving their quality of life and getting to spend more time with their family. And look, maybe this is a situation where this is probably the best thing for all parties. I think, dare I say it, it's time for Kevin to move on and take on a new challenge and allow someone else to step up to that role, because with all those frustrations and all that travel, you know, it's hard to put 100% of your heart and soul and love and enthusiasm into the product. And I think Kevin would be the first person to acknowledge that, which is, I would guess, to be, you know, one of the factors why he has decided to step away. So we have a lot of questions on this. Multiverse Aces, with Kevin's time in New Japan winding down, what was your favorite call or recurring bit of his time in the booth, and who do you think will replace him? Daryl says, Kevin leaving seems like a real punch to the gut as an English New Japan fan. To me, he was the glue, the familiarity, the common thread throughout the shows that made a very foreign product relatable. Well, we can't really complain as he was previously poached from ROH. This one hurts. So my questions are, how does this rank among recent defections? AJ, Shinsuke, Kenny, Kota, Jay. To me, as a fan, this somehow hurts more. And where do we go from here? Certainly, we need someone passionate enough to learn guys' names. Is Mauro an option? There's another question there, but I'm going to save that for later. I'm not even sure I want to talk about that one publicly. You know what I mean.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
And Antonio wants our 2 cents on that situation as well. So it is very, very sad. I mean, Kevin has been a huge part of the Western New Japan fandom. He's been, the voice of the English voice in New Japan Pro Wrestling since 2015. He's been doing it, and I, with great affection, sort of go back and enjoy those early New Japan Purocast podcast episodes back when it was Damon doing the show with Colin Miller, and then absolutely taking Kevin Kelly to task for his announcing or getting things wrong or whatever it was. I can't even remember what the exact nature of the complaints were, but Kevin, with all due respect to him, he took it on the chin and was like, "Yeah, you're right. I need to do better. Where am I going wrong?" And he improved. He listened to that criticism. He didn't, block them or throw his toys out the pram. He's someone who's always been very candid and very open and honest about the work that he does. And he's been a huge friend of the J-Cast over the years. We always enjoy having him on at the end of the year to do our Wrestle Kingdom previews. He and Chris Chant together, I think, were the best commentary team in the business. I would say that as a huge New Japan fan, but I really think their work was outstanding. So it is very, very sad to lose him, not just for the work that he does on the announce team, but for also what he represents and what he brings to the fandom as a guy who has always been there. He's always interacted with fans. He's always been there to listen and take part in the community. And he brought, I think, so much more to New Japan than just doing the announcing. So it's definitely going to leave a huge gap. And in terms of a replacement, I wouldn't bother, doing all the wild speculation about already established names in the business. I think just don't expect anything, and then you won't be disappointed. What I will say is, if Kevin has any say in his replacement, and I'm sure he does, I'm sure New Japan are allowing him to handpick the best guy for the job. He is going to find the best guy to fill his shoes. And it may not be someone that you've heard of, but if Kevin is saying this is the guy, then I believe that is going to be the guy. And with Kevin there to support him with the transition, and with Chris Charlton there, who has come on leaps and bounds since he started. Was it back in 2018? Was it the King of Pro Wrestling show that Chris Charlton first did?
And he started as translator.
Right.
Yeah.
He has absorbed so much from Kevin, and also from his own diligence and hard work, and polishing his own skills, to the point at which I think he is a guy who could help manage this transition. He can do play-by-play now. He's done it in the last 2 Road to Destruction shows. So, and of course, Rocky behind the scenes. I would say whoever is taking up that role has got all the support around them to be the biggest success possible. And yeah, I don't have any worries about it personally. I'm not going to speak to any names on who's going to take over, but if Kevin's involved, then we know it's going to be the best man for the job. But definitely a huge loss to New Japan, a huge loss to the community. But things change. Change is not always bad. This is part of the landscape of being a New Japan fan. We don't get to keep the big foreign talent forever. They come in, they'll do a few years, and then they'll go elsewhere. This is what it is. It doesn't make it any easier. It doesn't make it any less sad, any less of a loss to the company. But this is just what happened as a New Japan fan. It's cyclical. Old guy goes out, new guys come in. This is part of what it is, and I think we need to embrace that and be open-minded. And I'm looking forward to seeing what it sounds like in the future.
Ultimately, change is not just something that is a part of New Japan. Change is just the natural order of things in the universe. Your job is one thing one day, and then you come in next week, and your job may be gone. Your job may now have different details. You could be an entirely different industry. Change is just an inevitable part of life, and if you're not willing to go with the flow and accept that change, life's going to be real miserable for you. I agree that losing Kevin hurts. I think Kevin, as much praise and flowers as we have thrown at him over the years, and that he has gotten, he was Observer's announcer of the year last year or the year before, correct?
I think it may have been Excalibur last year, but I think prior to that it would have been. Let me check.
Yeah.
Hold on a second.
But while you're double checking that, so I mean, we've thrown flowers at him. I know Dave Meltzer has thrown flowers at him. Other people have thrown flowers, but I think as much as he will get, and he has gotten, if I can remember my proper English, I'm not sure if it will ever be enough for what he has done to try and help grow New Japan, especially before the pandemic, and then just the insane amount of work that he did during the pandemic to sit there and sit in his home office and try and record these shows either the same day for video on demand, or trying through insane circumstances to try and broadcast shows live for us. We didn't ask him to do that, and we didn't ask him to go through that. And I don't think any one of us in 2020 or in 2021 would have blamed him if he had just thrown his hands up and gone, hey, I've tried, but technology is just not letting me do it. And we all remember those shows. Just horrible quality. Chris sounded like he was in like an entirely different dimension. Rocky is coming in on like a 20-second delay. Just nightmares. And if Kevin at any moment had just kind of thrown his hands up and gone, I'm done, I wouldn't have blamed him. What was the show where he's got like a wasp flying in his room in his studio while he's trying to do a show live? And the fact that the minute that he could get on a plane, he got on a plane and went through the same quarantine that the wrestlers had to go through and all the same protocol, so he could be there and call matches live. And then just all the work that he had done prior to that and during that to try and grow New Japan, to make it accessible to a wider Western audience. And even things like going on to the bat for our favorite Clout Imp Kieran and his fellow Clout Demons with gifts. He didn't have to do that. That's not in his job description, to fight TV Asahi and be the advocate for a fandom to be able to post GIFs. Because remember, kids, TV Asahi is legally allowed to do that. And he could have just gone, well, no, that's Japan law. It is what it is. And instead, he fought the fight, just like we fought the fight, for people to be able to do GIFs. So, and I'm trying to think of another commentator that would have done that. Do you think Maro would have done that? Do you think JR would have done that? I mean, JR couldn't even keep Josh Barnett from trying to fight Jay White because he's, rolling around on the ground like a stuck pig after he got knocked over. So I think that we need to, with time, look back on what Kevin did and just thank him for it and for being a calming voice, especially during the pandemic. One of the questions we just were asked was, what's our favorite calls? I think two of my favorite calls from Kevin. One is going to be the Nakanishi retirement, as he's talking about Nakanishi and the historicalness of the moment. That's just an amazing. Go back and watch that. It's actually a really good match and a whole thing. And it's one of the last matches before the pandemic started. And that will always sit with me. And the end of Wrestle Kingdom 14 will always stick with me as well. And before anybody says anything, not because Bushi won, but also Kevin's final call and talking about the fact that we've all been through this thing together, but that we've got wrestling to kind of bring us together, and the fact that, not all of us could be in the Tokyo Dome, but that we were all there in spirit. And it's just an amazing call during an amazing period. And I hope people will go back and remember that and listen to that, and that be, hopefully a favorite call of theirs. And then just great stuff. I know people don't like a Destino call. I as a soccer football fan, I know what he's going for, and I love it. It's just kind of fun. And the fact that, he does a Destino call every match because Kevin's calling shows, not presuming that every single person has watched this before and knows that, okay, this is like the running Destino, so it's not going to be a 3 count. Not everybody knows that. And he's always calling the shows knowing that there's somebody that may be watching for the first time. And Kevin's my Chibalote buddy. So we get to talk about Chibalote Marines. And I hope he will have opportunities in the years to go over there and to catch some other games and talk about Chibalote some more. And obviously the opportunity to stay home and work on his own promotion because he's got that going on as well. So.
Yeah, I checked. He's won 2018, 2019, and 2022 Best Television Announcer. So, yeah, it's good to see him getting flowers there for all the hard work he does. And look, even if he's not employed by New Japan after that point, I do hope he still follows the product and stays part of the community. And I think that would be really cool if we could sort of keep Kevin as a fan, even if we're losing him as an announcer, and he could stay part of the community. And, it'd be great to still have him on the J-Cast from time to time if he's still following the product. And, thinking in terms of replacement, do you think the priority should be finding someone who knows the product inside out and is a big fan in New Japan, or do you think they should be prioritizing other stuff like, someone who sounds good and has the right attitude and has broadcasting experience? Because, I would definitely lean more towards the latter, because if you've got Chris Charlton by your side, he is an absolute fountain of knowledge when it comes to New Japan Pro Wrestling. So whilst I'm not suggesting that the company should be launching into another Lanny Poffo situation, I would say that having someone who is a hardcore fan of New Japan Pro Wrestling is not necessarily the priority here. I think there's other skills and values that they should be prioritizing when they are looking for a replacement.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, I just want the best person for the job. And as you were talking about, if it just also happens to be somebody that Kevin Kelly, listens to their tape and goes, showing my age when I say tape, but listens to them and says, hey, I think they've got something. Because Kevin's also kind of the announcer whisperer. I mean, how many questionable dance partners did he have during Strong that he was able to kind of drag to, from the utter basement to at least maybe the sub basement, if not higher. So yeah, I ultimately just want the best person for the job and somebody with the right attitude and that is willing to learn if they're not a New Japan fan. I don't think that's a requirement to call the product. As long as you know what moves are and you're willing to learn and raise your hand at times if you don't know or if you've made a mistake and willing to work on things. No, I'm good. I'm excited for what the future holds and to see what's coming down the pipeline and somebody that can travel and maybe not have the family requirements. Not that I want some sad, lonely individual, but somebody that's able to kind of put in the work and get on the plane and just get in it and just get stuck in.
And I will say this as well. This might be a bit of a hot take and maybe wishful thinking on my part, but I would really love it to be someone who hasn't gone through that WWE system. Because if you think about, most of the major announcers in the pro wrestling landscape at the moment, it's thinking Josh Matthews, Matt Stryker, Drama King Matt, Matt Raywalt, Kevin himself, obviously, and AEW, there's Taz and Tony Schiavone, Big Show, Paul White, Nigel McGuinness, Tom Hannifan. These are all people who, if I'm not mistaken, went through the WWE system. So I would really rather it were not someone who came through WWE, wanted to be a WWE announcer, and then failed at doing that, and is just settling for something less than. I would like someone who actually wants to be a New Japan Pro Wrestling announcer. And again, I'm not saying that needs to be a New Japan superfan, but I would really like them to sort of think outside of the box and not just pick someone who is already who's already done it before for a company like WWE.
Yeah. Somebody that's in it to win it. Somebody that maybe, didn't go through the WWE system, maybe really hasn't been through any kind of, either through the Impact or AEW or what have you. And so in theory, somebody that can grow along with the product, depending upon what the Bushiroad's ultimate ambitions are for New Japan in the West. Somebody to grow with it and to be on that journey together.
Yeah, absolutely. So whilst we'll all be very sad to lose Kevin as an announcer and all the tremendous work that he's done for the community at large, I think there's a lot of exciting opportunities for whoever it is who's lined up for their replacement. So I'm excited. I think this could be a real positive. And it is time for Kevin to move on. I mean, I think sometimes just people grow apart and, not good fits for each other, whether that's, relationships, working relationships. And it is the right time for Kevin to be moving on, and he will be terribly missed by us and the fandom. But we look ahead to the future and look forward to what that holds for us. So let us then move on to discussing some actual New Japan Pro Wrestling, which has been taking place this weekend. Now, I know for a fact that you have taken notes. I've seen photographic evidence of the notes.
Yes.
So I'm going to do the Brian Alvarez thing and be like, Dave, take us through the show. So we had a pair of shows. Yeah, shuffle the papers. Shuffle, shuffle, shuffle. So we have Kantansu. What is Kantansu? Do you have any idea what that is? Is it a drink? Kantansu presents Road to Destruction. I'm going to look it up.
Yeah, I have no clue. I have none.
I think it might be vinegar. Just looked it up on it. It appears to be some sort of vinegar. So, Road to Destruction is sponsored by vinegar, Cantantu vinegar, the best vinegar you're going to get. They are not sponsoring the JCast. I'm open to that. If they want to sponsor the JCast, I'll take some vinegar. Love vinegar. Had some vinegar on my chips today. What am I talking about? This has gone completely off the rails, Booze. Let's talk Road to Destruction. Pair of events from. Okay, were they both from Korakuen Hall?
Yes.
One of them was definitely Korakuen Hall.
No, they're both in Korakuen.
Both in Korakuen Hall. Pretty fun shows, pretty breezy watches. There's nothing groundbreaking coming out. We will get through it, but just your overall thoughts on anyone who's not seen these two shows. Did you have a good time watching them?
I had a good time. I actually thought night one was a little easier and a little breezier to get through than night two. And your mileage may vary on that. I found myself actually kind of falling and I started watching night two at about noon my time. And there were a couple matches in the undercard of night two where I was, even after a shot of espresso, I was ready to kind of me through. So, and then I was very surprised that night two went the full 3 hours. So I'm looking at my watch going, I'm supposed to record in 20 minutes and, put the show on like double speed to rush through to make sure I could work my way, not only through the English language, but work my way through the Emmy. So, but no, they're fun. They're breezy. I mean, we haven't had New Japan in about a month or so, if you're not counting the Philly show or the Impact. I did note that they've put up on New Japan World the outside promotion matches that some of the juniors, Despy Show and Hiromu, have done. So you've got up on New Japan World, you've got Despy, two from Despy, one DDT versus Daisuke Sasaki, Charisma. And then one that I watched, which was like this outdoor show plunder match against Hiraki Saito. I think I just completely butchered that. Hiromu's appearance on GLEAT, which is the same show. It was the GLEAT Sumo Hall show that was main evented by Ibushi and his Old Fuck Pro team. And then a show... God, I forget which promotion. I should just go look up on New Japan World and see what that was. But yeah, so some other kind of additional fun content. I mean, none of those matches are groundbreaking match of the year contenders, but they're nice, breezy, especially the outdoor Despy one. That's like a great like kind of lunch break match. So if you just want something kind of little fun, little outside the box, I recommend those as well as a side watch.
Yeah, I mean, you pointed out it's been a while since we had a sort of pure New Japan show in Japan. And I will say this, whilst I was sitting in Wembley Stadium watching MJF and Adam Cole wrestle, I was thinking, boy, I cannot wait for Yo and Ryusuke Taguchi versus Doki and Yoshinobu Kanemaru on Friday, September the 8th, Road to Destruction. I got really bad withdrawal symptoms for pro wrestling at that point. So I'm really glad to see it back. So, can you take us through the first night then? What stood out to you?
So the first night was, the original plan for the first night was supposed to be Oleg Boltin or Boltin Oleg versus Zach for the TV title after Boltin won that Beef Bowl gauntlet match thingy. And then night one opens up with kind of like a Sumo Kujo announcement. That's what I had going through my head when I was watching them announce that Oleg was not going to be able to make the match because he's got like an infection in his wrist that has resulted in like a high fever, and the doctor's got to make a statement corroborating the fact that Boltin can't go. And in his place is going to be Oiwa. And the crowd loses their mind for that. Just to kind of give you an idea that definitely the Korakuen faithful have kind of picked the young lions that they're attaching themselves to. It's overall night one's a easy kind of breezy watch. Yo wearing a t-shirt and just basically being like T-shirt Naito was a mood. But night one, like if somebody was wearing a t-shirt, it was basically a Terry Funk t-shirt. and that's how New Japan kind of paid their respects to the late Terry Funk. So a bunch of people were wearing Terry Funk shirts, including Red Shoes. One of the things that really, so we get the match where it's like Umino with Hantai versus Ren and Strong Style and Hanma. And the thing that stuck out to me about this setup is that so Umino gets his own entrance. So he can come through the crowd and do the whole thing and hand out glow sticks and wristbands and kiss babies and shake hands. And he can do all that. And then the rest of his team comes in as a group. But for Ren, it's just first night is Ren coming in with his group to his music. And then night 2, they don't even come out to Ren's music. They come out to Despy's music as a group. And yes, I know part of the story is that Shota is, is the wannabe star and the wannabe Tanahashi. So he's doing this wannabe star entrance and all that jazz. But just on a meta level, just somebody sitting there watching it, I found it very intriguing to see how they're presenting Ren versus Shota. And the fact that they're not even having him come out to his music when, correct me if I'm wrong, but this whole matchup is supposed to lead to a singles match between Umino and Ren, correct?
Yeah, that's what was going to be my question. I mean, where do you think this leads? Because I've seen some speculation that maybe this is going for Shota versus Ren at Wrestle Kingdom. Maybe they'll do the singles match there. But I also have to keep in the back of my mind that Despy is still a big star, like one of the biggest stars in the junior division. And maybe they want to elevate him for a program in the run-up to Wrestle Kingdom. He could maybe be the guy challenging Hiromu for the belt at Wrestle Kingdom. I don't know, but presumably that there is some thought and intentionality that's gone into that. So I suppose your mileage may vary on that, whether or not you think they are going to build something significant for Despy at the Tokyo Dome.
But he's not, but it would be one thing if it was Strong Style versus LIJ and you're getting Despy, Hiromu, tag team matchups. But the junior he's facing off against is Wato. What we're going to he's going to pin Wato and then claim, since I pinned the winner of Best of the Super Junior, I get to challenge for the belt? I don't...
Well, that could be a direction. I mean, we could get something at one of these shows later in the year where there is a sort of de facto playoff for who gets to be the number one contender for Hiromu's belt. And that seems to be the direction this is going. I would imagine we do get Wato versus Despy in a singles match at one of these shows towards the end of the year.
Yeah. And there, because I got a chance, I saw just like a little clip after night 1 and Despy's like, man, Wato's like just this pain in my ass, and he's there, and they're definitely kind of face off in these 2 matches. But I'm just more like, if this isn't leading to some sort of singles match between Ren and Umino, then what are we doing with Umino? No, I'm sorry. Then what are we doing with Ren? Because I don't know about you, but especially in the night 1 matchup, I didn't even really feel like heat from Ren. There's this moment where the rest of Strong Style is fighting guys outside the ring. Ren doesn't even join. And I felt that his sequence with Umino in the ring, it perfunctorily looked good. And it looked hard, and it felt strong, and he's doing what he's supposed to be doing. But I didn't feel any passion. I didn't feel any true hatred between, from him towards Umino, where you can feel a reverse of Umino just not really liking this guy and just getting into it and just feeling it. And I don't know what we're doing with Ren. I don't know what Ren's doing with himself. It's just baffling.
Have you seen his new T-shirt?
The one that looks bootleg?
So it was from his Toshopi event a few days ago, and it was one of the items only available during the event. It's a black T-shirt that has a Japanese rhinoceros beetle on it, and it says "Son of Strong Style," and then times the Latin name for the Japanese rhinoceros beetle. So I don't know if he's decided, you know what, this Shibata thing isn't working. I'm going to rebrand myself as rhinoceros beetle adjacent. For what it's worth, there's a T-shirt with Ren as a beetle on it. So enjoy.
I saw that T-shirt and I thought it was fake. I was like, no, this can't be a real No, this can't be real. This is just something somebody's made up. But that's a real shirt.
Oh, okay, I've got some more info from effing Kenta here on Reddit. It says Ren has a rhinoceros beetle as a pet. It was on the live stream with him. He says he doesn't expect it to be a part of his actual aesthetic. Would it hurt? I mean, maybe he should start incorporating into his aesthetic and have like a mask with a rhinoceros beetle horn on it, and he can use that. It could be his new finishing move. He could do like a sort of a headbutt and attack people with his beetle horn.
That'd be more passionate than when I saw night one.
Okay, well, poor Ren.
Am I wrong? How did you feel about that? Were you like, did you get like a totally different thing than what I got from it? Am I the outlier looking at Ren?
I don't think so. I think he is feeling a bit directionless. I think towards the end of the G1, he redeemed himself for some lackluster early performances. I think following the Kaito Kiyomiya match, I was just like, yes, this is more of the Ren that I want to see. So I'm not going to judge him based on the output of a couple of Road 2 shows. I will wait and see how this feud with Shota plays out. But again, there's still the fear that at the end of that, I would expect Shota to be the guy coming out with the shine, regardless of the result of the match, because I just feel like Shota is lapping Ren at this point. But I'll reserve judgment. I think I'm one of the people who's slightly more bullish on Ren's prospects, although I do acknowledge the deficiencies that he has this calendar year. Can we talk about Bad Dude Tito?
Oh,
I'm excited to see him back.
We can definitely talk about Bad Dude Tito.
Talk to me about Bad Dude Tito. I'm absolutely thrilled to see him back. Just even the entrance of him and Mikey and Shane coming out just filled me with joy. I'm so glad that he's back in Japan, because there was a moment where I was thinking, is this a New Japan sort of quietly trying to cut ties with him? Especially, you hear about all the financial cutbacks and people not being paid to fly out to Japan. So just seeing him back at Korakuen Hall just fills me with great happiness.
I think it filled the cockles of Korakuen's heart with happiness, because they were very happy both nights to see him. I especially think on night 2, because I think originally he was not scheduled to be on night 2. I could be wrong, because I know night 2 also had some schedule changes because of the Bolton Oleg situation. No, I love seeing Bad Dude Tito. I was pleasantly surprised that he did not take the pin both nights. I was kind of expecting that. I would love if the single Never belt can stop being the prize in the Bullet Club Civil War, and other people that are not in Bullet Club are allowed to fight for the Never belt and challenge for it. I would love to see Tito challenge for that belt. I'd like to see him have it. I think he fits the aesthetic. I listened to Japanese commentary, and they were talking, and they were like telling people and reminding them about the fact that he's got that street fighting past, and he comes from a slightly different background than everybody else. And
why are we not doing Tito versus Eddie Kingston for the strong title? That'd be great.
Yeah. Just why are we not? Well, why are we not doing Tom Lawler, Eddie Kingston for the strong belt? Why are we not doing Eddie Kingston versus Fred Rosser for the strong belt?
Look at us fancy booking Eddie Kingston matches on a New Japan podcast.
God,
look how far we've come. Shoot. We're Eddie pilled now.
We are not Eddie. Well, I'm not Eddie pilled. I am Filthy Tom pilled, and I think it's a shame that I guess he has somehow managed to fall off New Japan's radar. I don't know what's going on. It's not Eddie pilled. I'd like to see more Filthy Tom, and if I have to have it in an Eddie match to see Filthy Tom, I will take that.
Right, so Eddie Kingston is like a sort of Trojan horse conduit for consuming more Tom Lawler. I'm down with that.
Yeah.
Let's talk a bit about Callum Newman, who has made his New Japan debut for United Empire. He is the United Empire young lion. What do you think of him so far? Because I saw him at the Rev Pro show when he was part of the 6-man cruiserweight match, which was a brilliant match. But the nature of a 6-man cruiserweight scramble match is that it's difficult for everyone to necessarily get all their shit and get over. So we didn't see a huge amount of Callum Newman there, but here, more of a chance to shine. What did you think of him?
I like what I saw. He's also known as the Prince of Pace. And I just want to say fuck off to that. From the standpoint of, if you're being billed as a young lion, I hate the idea of a young lion or somebody that's being presented as a young lion, even within a faction, having a nickname. So there he is in his little black trunks with the little side of grain to denote that he's a young lion, which I do appreciate. And then but he's already got a nickname, the Prince of Pace. No, just call him Callum Newman. But he's fast. Because I didn't see him on the Rev Pro deal, and I hadn't seen him before now. And so I also kind of thought, oh, okay, this is probably just a bunch of bullshit, calling him the Prince of Pace. And then he had that running the rope sequence with Hiromu, and I wrote down, okay, he's fast. I was like, oh, okay, that's not bullshit. He's pretty fast. And he got to do a little bit. He didn't get to do much more, but also his chops are some heavy sounding motherfuckers. Especially, I think it was Hiromu that he chopped in the main event from today's show. And that first chop, the whole of Korakuen was just ugh, because it was just so heavy and thick. And Jesus, if he puts on a little bit of weight and gets a little more even more oomph on those chops, I could just give me some chop battles where he's turning somebody's chest into hamburger meat. And also,
I'm just looking at how old he is now. Do you know how old he is? He's no, I don't know. I can't find it.
If I have to guess, I would guess his early 20s.
Because I was just wondering, is there time for him to fill out? Because obviously when Will Ospreay started off in New Japan, he was a pretty skinny guy and then sort of packed on the muscle as we sort of went into 2019, 2020. So definitely room for Callum Newman to grow in that. Do you think he is a guy who might feature in the Super Junior Tag League? Do you think they might find a new partner for him, or possibly give him Akira or TJP as a partner? Maybe not have Catch 2-2 in Super Junior Tag League?
I don't know. I'd be kind of sad if we didn't have Catch 2-2 in the Super Junior.
He's 24. 24 years old.
Okay. Yeah, 24. Yeah, I could see, Akira Newman. I would take that. I would not be, or even put him with TJP, because I know he's not everyone's favorite wrestler, but TJP is a really good. I know everyone hates this phrase, hand, but he's a good hand, and you can see the work that he's done with Akira in getting him kind of comfortable in a New Japan ring and developing him and helping him just kind of take that next step, that next level. And so ultimately pairing him with Callum and to get that same results, I'd be okay with that. I also want Callum to go get a tan or get some spray tan, because
he does look extremely fitting all the stereotypes of the sort of pasty, skinny, white British man.
He is so pasty white, I could white balance a camera off his back.
Even scrolling down on the New Japan official website of the match cards, when I get to him, I'm like, I've got to turn the brightness down on my monitor because it's hurting my eyes.
I know. That's
because especially when he's next to in the same graphic, there's Hinare and Great O'Khan and Jeff Cobb who've all got nice tans, and then it's just him looking like someone's fucked up the contrast on the render.
Yeah. And side note, some of these renders for these matches are glorious because they're actually letting them pose and do things and not just kind of stand in front of the camera menacingly. And they are in some cases, some of the best things. I love it.
What else have we got? We were supposed to have, as you said, Zack Sabre Jr. versus Oleg Boltin. We didn't get that. Instead, we got Zack versus Ryohei Oiwa, who was making a one-off appearance while he was still on his Noah excursion, and he turned up with none other than Kaito Kiyomiya. So a little bit of stuff teased afterwards with maybe Zack and Kaito locking horns in the future. But what did you think of Zack versus Oiwa?
I liked it. It was, especially, for a match they had to put together at the last minute, I think it just kind of reiterates or reinforces just how good Zack is and how you can put him with just about any opponent and he's going to make it work. I really enjoyed about maybe right around the 10-minute mark, just right before when Oiwa started to get some like sustained offense in and to be able to show what he can actually do. And he got a little head of steam going and he got that little hope spot. And that's what I wanted to see. I would have liked to see a little bit more of that in the match overall, but I understand from a match telling standpoint, it doesn't really help anybody if Oiwa just comes in and just starts like kicking Zack's ass. I get that. But for what it was, I mean, it's not a match of the year candidate, but it was a solid little match. It was fun. I don't like his gear. Oiwa. I hate the color scheme on his pants. Obviously, I know that's
is he doing matching gear with Kaito? Is that the thing? Are they a tag team now in Noah?
I think they're doing some tag team stuff in Noah. I'm not keeping up with that deeply. I just and here's my thing with him kind of palling around with Kaito in Noah. And this would be my question if we were like in a real, like, let's say this is like Lucha Underground where everything was actually happening in like, say, reality. And I'm sitting there with Oiwa and I'm going, why do you want to learn from a dude that got punked by Muto, got his ass kicked by Okada, couldn't even handle a desperate housewife in the middle of a ring, and then skipped his own company's tournament to participate in the G1 where he couldn't even get a winning record? Why is that a guy that you as a young lion, as a young upcoming wrestler, think that that is who you should hitch your wagon to further develop?
Maybe he really liked his tights.
Possibly. And his hairstyle, because he changed his hairstyle. He's got that little bit of blonde in the back. But no,
it's not doing it for you then.
But no, the match was fine. Nothing special. Zack continues to do wonderful Zack things and quietly put together. Like if you wanted to have Zack in your Wrestler of the Year conversation, I would not stop you.
Yeah, I think he's sort of flown under the radar a bit, but now that you mention it, I'll be interested to put up his cage match and just look at the variety of singles matches he's had in various promotions and various opponents. Actually, we did have a question here about Zack. Kevin says lots to talk about Ospreay potentially leaving New Japan. What about Zack? Do you think he is someone we should be worried about?
I don't know. Because Zack, we all think Zack lives and completely, fully moved to Japan, correct? Is that like the working theory?
I don't know. These things are very fluid. I never stay on top of them, so I'm ignorant on that, I'm afraid.
And here's how I'm going to answer this. And that, do I want Zack to leave? No. I think New Japan would be is the best showcase for what he can do. With that being said, will I be shocked if he leaves? No, because and I had this thought while I was watching him defend his belt that is supposed to be for young up and coming wrestlers against Satoshi Kojima earlier today, that I feel like he's reached his ceiling in New Japan. I don't think he's ever going to get the big boy belt, no matter how much Zack kind of fills out and puts on a little muscle mass. And he's definitely gotten thicker over the year or so. We don't have an intercontinental belt. I know there's a question about that. I'm not sure if he'll contend again for the US, UK, whatever the hell we're calling that, belt. I'm not sure outside, like once he drops this TV title, I don't know where he goes. And I don't feel confident in saying that he's going to be anything more than the occasional IWGP heavyweight Super Sentai Diva belt challenger. So
Yeah, I mean, someone like you said, someone asked about the intercontinental title situation, and of course, he's got that. What I think is a really big. Is it going to be? I assume it's going to be the main event, him versus Ospreay at Royal Quest 3, and perhaps that could be some sort of way for the intercontinental title to make its way back. But I don't see Ospreay losing the US title before Wrestle Kingdom. I don't know. There's a lot of uncertainty there. But I did pull up Zach's cage match just to see, not necessarily for the ratings, but just the range of opponents he's had in singles matches this year. He seems to have wrestled every wrestler ever. So he's wrestled in singles matches this year: Ren, Ishii, Clark Connors, Blake Christian, Ryan Clancy, Shota Umino, Michael Oku, Oiwa, Oscar Leuber, Umino again, Tom Lawler, Jeff Cobb, AR Fox, Tony Deppen, Rocky Romero, Jordan Oliver, Action Andretti, Jeff Cobb again, Nick Gage, Kevin Knight, Jordan Breaks. Then, of course, there was the G1 run to the quarterfinals: Christopher Daniels, Metalik, Ricky Knight Jr., Oiwa again, and now Kojima. I mean, that's a great. We're still only just in September. That is an insane amount of different opponents to have in singles matches. Like, what an absolute workhorse this guy is.
Yeah. So yeah, if you come to me and go, hey, Zach is I'm going to vote Zach for my wrestler of the year. Man, have at it. I ain't stopping you.
Yeah, hope the man gets his flowers at the end of the year. Okay, what else are we looking at? Okay, so there was Zach versus Oiwa. Then we had a main event: Taichi and Sanada versus Show and Evil. I mean, there's not a huge amount to say about the match itself, but I just wanted to sort of touch base on the landscape of the New Japan heavyweight tag division. And I was thinking that a tag run with Sanada and Taichi teaming together and maybe having a crack at the heavyweight tag titles would be a nice way for Sanada to bounce back after he presumably loses the heavyweight title to Naito at Wrestle Kingdom, and just sort of looking ahead at what the heavyweight tag division might look like towards the end of this year and next year. I mean, there were sort of whispers of Aussie Open making an appearance at some point. I would be very surprised if they were in World Tag League, because I've been assured by multiple AEW fans that they are locked into several high-profile feuds with the major tag teams in the company. So, yeah, I will be stunned if they can make time to come to World Tag League. But, maybe they might do what FTR did last year, pop in, parachute in to do a sort of big, high-profile tag match, possibly with title implications, maybe even win the tag titles, because obviously they held them before and had to vacate them due to Mark Davis's injury. So they could pull the whole, we're still the real champions, we never lost the belts, and just do the FTR thing, put over the World Tag League winner. So again, just taking Aussie Open out of the equation, looking at the landscape where we've potentially got Taichi Sanada as a team, we've got Bishamon, we've got TMDK, we've got War Dogs, we've got maybe some sort of United Empire team of Great Khan, Cobb, Hinare. Just pick your two from those. We could have, definitely missing some here. Shingo Suji. I would love to see that as a tag team. I mean, neither of them are doing anything significant, so we could put them together. How are you feeling about the landscape as far as the heavyweight tag division goes?
It's in a state of flux. I think I'm not sure about Taichi Sanada for like an actual proper tag run. Taichi's not been in World Tag League. Was it just last year or last year and the year before that there was no Dangerous Techers?
Yeah, I think you might be right. I'm not expecting him to be in it this year. I suppose that sort of brings up an interesting question. Like, what would you expect to be the heavyweight tag title match for Wrestle Kingdom? Who do you think's winning World Tag League?
I think Bishamon's going to hold till Wrestle Kingdom. And in terms of who I think, If
Is it too soon for my dogs for real?
I see. I was just. It's like I want War Dogs to come out of my mouth, and I'm not. They've got the strong titles, so but it wouldn't be the first time that we've had that type of a matchup. Um, it wouldn't be the craziest thing, and if the company's really really behind War Dogs, then yeah, they you have them win tag league, and then fight Bishamon in a great and make it a sprint. I don't want like some 20-minute fest between the two of them. I would love a 10 to maybe 15-minute at the outset. Nice, just hard hitting, fuck 'em up sprint. And War Dogs being the 100th tag team champions, I'd be okay with that.
That would sort of give me kind of flashbacks. So was it the Wrestle Kingdom 12 match between Killer Elite Squad and Evil Sanada? And I think they're sort of respective teams filling in similar functions there. And I really feel War Dogs have got that same energy that Killer Elite Squad did. So we live in hope. I mean, I'm not going to nail my colours to the wall here and say, yes, War Dogs were World Tag League winners. But yeah, it's quite open. It's up in the air. There's not really a team that I see as standout favourites for that. And of course, we've gone through this without me mentioning Gorillas of Destiny. Of course, ELP Hikuleo, that could be a thing.
Yeah.
I don't know if Tama and Tangaloa are still going to be doing it. Monster Source, we got Alex Zane and Lance Archer, hopefully going to be in the mix. So yeah, it could be quite a fun tag league this year that absolutely nobody's going to watch. So that was all the good stuff from night one. I mean, night two, I suppose the most notable thing was the unfortunate injury to Yoshinobu Kanemaru, who appeared to Vince himself. Basically,
Yeah.
We've all seen the famous spot with Vince blowing out his quad. Was it both his quads?
Yeah,
At the Royal Rumble 2005. So this was right at the start of the match where it was Kanemaru and Taichi and Sanada all at different sides of the ring. And then they all slid into the ring at the same time to attack House of Torture. But as Kanemaru slid into the ring and stood up, he just buckled, he collapsed. Like there was no contact with anyone else. He just obviously had some sort of awkward twist or tear or something as he got into the ring and had to be immediately helped backstage. He wasn't stretched out or anything, but you could obviously see this was not a work. He was genuinely hurt. Something to do with his knee. I don't know. That seemed to be what Sanada and Taichi were communicating towards the end of the match. So that's really terrible news. I mean, we would have expected to see him in Super Junior Tag League, possibly teaming with Doki. So I don't know if we're going to do Doki and maybe Despy tagging or Doki and Taka tagging. And Taka's going to finesse his way into getting a payday. But we did have Doki coming out to replace Kanemaru in this match. Doki pulling double duty here after wrestling in the opening match. And it just had that magic where obviously the crowd knew that Kanemaru was legitimately hurt and just put all that energy behind Doki. And I thought this match was really fantastic. Like you wouldn't expect it as the fourth match, a 6-man tag match on a Road to Destruction show. But I thought they just sort of captured lightning in a bottle here. The crowd was sort of living and dying behind everything Doki was doing. And there were some quite creative sequences down the stretch. So it was a bit where I think Doki had Evil in the Doki Choki,
Yeah.
and then Taichi was there and just kicked Evil in the face. That was great. Really, really fun match. They just, House of Torture, they got that magic in Korakuen Hall, and I thought Just Five Guys were a good foil to that. So if you're looking for me to pick out one match from these two shows that I would say go out of your way to watch, I thought this one was a ton of fun.
Yeah, I just call that the Doki match because, Kanemaru goes down. Immediately, Yujiro backs because he was supposed to be the one to be fighting Kanemaru in that opening sequence. And immediately, Yujiro's like, I didn't do it. I don't know what happened, but I didn't do it. Not me. And you really got to give the other guys credit for somehow it being communicated that, hey, Doki will run out and replace Kanemaru, but you got to buy time, I guess, for Doki to put his mask back on or whatever. I was impressed that he had his gear on and he was because that and hadn't hit the showers yet or whatever. But for the other 5 to basically kind of stall and just on the fly make up to create a situation where Doki could come in and be the fiery baby face to come in and save the day and clear the ring and then declare that he's going to replace Kanemaru. And then that whole match just ultimately revolves around Doki. And and you cannot tell me that the original plan for that match was going to be Kanemaru getting almost all the offense and the defense in, with everyone else just having little spots. They just, I think on the fly, just went, okay, let's just make this all about Doki and have a good time. And being able to just on the fly, it's like, okay, I don't know how they communicated that. Oh yeah, Doki's going to come in, clean house, and then he's going to do like a dive onto Togo and everything that they did. And it reminds you that during the pandemic, yeah, Yoshihashi was like a king of Korakuen, but the other king of Korakuen was Doki. Korakuen loves Doki, and they just got behind him and just willed him, and were waiting for him to steal this win. And it is a great fun match. But what I felt, and I took this note, in that I like the matchup between Just Five Guys and House of Torture. I do think they play off each other very well. I don't think it's a main event matchup, though. I think it's perfectly cromulent for the mid card, which is where it was sitting on night 2. But when you put it as your main event matchup, it's not as fun, because House of Torture is not a main event act. And everybody's very competent, and Sho talking about his sense of justice, and they're not booing us, they're booing our enemies, which I think is brilliant. But the act as a whole is not a main event act. It's not top tier gimmick. It is what it is. It's a mid card. It gets the fan base riled up. It's a great, you can have a match, but it's still kind of a bit of a cool down. No one's ever going to accuse a House of Torture matchup to be some work rate cage match approved deal. But Korakuen loves it. And it's panto, right? It's boo and hiss, and they do their same deals all the time, and everybody knows that how they're supposed to react to it. I just don't like it as a main event deal, which doesn't give me much hope for our eventual main event of Sonata versus Evil for the Super Sentai Diva belt.
Yeah, I think I've seen a lot of grumbling, a lot of concern about that Destruction at Sumo Hall card. That it could turn out to be a disaster, but I don't know, man. Like the Evil act, I think works best when there is the threat of him becoming a main eventer. But yeah, maybe him in a G1 semi-final is one thing, because then everyone is getting behind his opponent, and nobody, even the most hardened Evil and House of Torture apologists like myself, we don't want to see no Evil in no fucking G1 final, right? We're not complete masochists. However, when you run that threat back twice, like, okay, we're cheering against this guy being in a G1 final, but then that sort of suspension of disbelief in a match that is going to potentially decide who is main eventing Wrestle Kingdom, the drama of that is somewhat compromised, because I don't think there's many people who are going to go into that Sumo Hall show believing that Evil is going to win that and main event Wrestle Kingdom. Whereas,
Right.
There was a little sliver of doubt. You thought they might just be nutty enough to do Evil versus Naito for the G1 Climax final. Like, they might have done that.
Yeah.
It would not be on the realms of possibility. But yeah, I do share your concerns with that Sumo Hall main event.
And then where do you think, so I think on the same show is supposed to be, no pun intended, Taichi and Sho for KOPW. Now, who do you think is going to win that?
Oof. Taichi, I don't see them belting up Sho for, I mean, I say belting up with the KOPW, one of the more minor titles. But yeah, I'd say Taichi keeps that.
You don't think Sho? You don't think they'll You don't think that they're finally going to do something with Sho and have this wacky guy who, does spots with bananas and wrenches and just put out this bonkers interview talking about his sense of justice and interpreting the booze for, reverse cheers for what they're doing. You don't think he's going to touch what before Shingo and Taichi was nominally a comedy fest belt? You don't think he has a shot at it?
Now you've laid it out like that, I would be intrigued. You've planted a seed of doubt in my mind. So that will be the 6th match at the Kobe show. So I was scrolling down. I was like, 6th match. Maybe they might actually do something interesting with that, because there is an iteration of that match where Sho sort of does proper wrestling and him and Taichi sort of beat the crap out of each other, and it is pleasing to the eye for the work raties. But then I kept scrolling and, okay, this is a 10-match card. So 6th match on a 10-match card. I'm not holding my breath for anything spectacular there. But no, I think the Taichi KOPW run still has legs. I mean, he only just won it off Shingo, didn't he? He's not had any successful defenses thus far, if I'm not mistaken.
I thought he didn't redefend. He didn't have like a rematch against Shingo for it.
Maybe he did. Okay, I'm going to have a look then. So, yeah, he's had 0 defenses. So he won it on April 29th at Wrestling Satsuma no Kuni and has thus far failed to defend it. I mean, talk about lack of a active champion. I mean, he should have been stripped of this thing.
Yeah,
no defenses since April. Shocking.
No, I just have a feeling that they're gonna put it on Sho, and I could be, and I'm not willing to bet on it because if anything, the Discord has taught me not to make bets. Oh my god!
Also, can I say, while we're talking Discord, there was a question on Twitter, and I'm not going to name the names in the tweet. Can I just say, do not go into our Discord or any Discord and get into public slagging matches with one of your colleagues. That's not the place to do it. Just that's silly.
Well, any Discord, any public place is it's stupid, and it's also, I'm sorry, but it is at best naive, and if not just downright stupid to get,
and also indirectly my fault.
Right. But
took the heat off of me. You could have got me in trouble. So thanks for that.
But no, to go into a space like that and to disparage a coworker and not expect it to leave that place, and for other and basically to not to think that gossip wasn't going to happen and that's for any workplace, right? Like if you go to the water cooler and you shit about and you say things about a coworker, and there are other coworkers that overhear this, I think it is a reasonable expectation that that's going to start getting filtered out through the rest of the company, and that maybe the coworker that you're disparaging is going to hear about it third or fourth hand, that you've got beef with them or whatever, or they don't like how you do a spreadsheet or something. That's just basic workplace 101. And at this point, it should be basic social media literacy 101 to just like keep your fucking mouth shut. And if there is,
if you want to do that, if you want to throw one of your colleagues under the bus, do it in my DMs. Right.
I'll
listen. Make some, I won't go public with it either.
Get some potential pastrami out of it. At least make it worth your while, and not to like fuck things up. It's just no. It's and again, this is basic workplace 101, not just wrestling related or sports related or whatever. Just here is a piece of advice from Mama Lepro, who's been on this earth a little bit longer than I think half the people that listen to this podcast. let me give you a couple pieces of advice. One, save everything when it comes to work. Keep all those emails, all those Slacks, all those DMs, whatever you use, because at some point you may need them to support yourself in a situation. And just keep your mouth shut and be wary of who you run it in front of, because in a workplace of more than 2 people, there's always going to be somebody that's going to use that to get you and get you out the door and to take your place. Don't be stupid.
Do we need a HR department in our Discord now?
We need something in our Discord. I don't know if we need an HR. We need something. Shit. Well,
I think everyone just sort of collectively lost their minds during the G1. It happens.
I don't know what.
I blame Chase Owens.
I mean, that shocked me. It was like, wait a minute, we as a group got through 2020 and 2021, and we saw
we got through Summer Struggle 2021, and it one crap Chase Owens G1 match, and everyone just lost their minds.
Fuck. I don't know if we need HR. I don't know if we need Gamblers Anonymous, because there are some people that love betting when they shouldn't be making bets because they got shitty luck.
I think maybe a lot of people just have like humiliation kinks.
Well, them and Tony Khan.
All right, okay. On the topic, percentage chance we see CM Punk wrestling for New Japan in the future.
Man, Rocky can't stop himself from like booking problematic people. I don't think New Japan can afford Punk, but I think that would be. I think money is the only thing that would stop New Japan from getting Punk. I think he would be too stupid, and we know Punk can be stupid. I think he would ask for just a stupid dollar amount that New Japan Bushiroad could not find enough pennies under the couch cushions to cover.
See, I think they could get him at a discount rate just by tapping into his spite and his ego and just giving him the chance to, take shots at people who he thinks has wronged him on a massive stage. Like book him a match at Wrestle Kingdom where he can beat Kenta with a go to sleep, and then he can make some snarky comments to the camera or backstage. Fire some shots at all the people who's pissed him off in AEW. Just give him a live microphone. Just be like, okay, there you go nuts. And then, maybe if you let him do all those things, then he might accept a cut price deal.
Yeah, but then Yano would do something in a Chaos video, and Punk would think it was about him and leave.
Punk would be like trawling through the 30+ minute backstage comments on the entire World Tag League Tour, being like, I think that was about me. He's talking about me, isn't he?
Right. And it's just always Oscar Loibe talking about
he's going to try his best.
Yeah. Just come buddy. No, it's about me. No. Speaking of Gun Buddy, and surviving things and things that maybe should be left in the pandemic. I'm sorry, but what was that Never 6-Man match? Why in the year of our Lord 2023 are we having a Never 6-Man match between Kazuchika Okada, Tomohiro Ishii, Hiroshi Tanahashi against Tenzan, Tiger Mask, and Makabe? What are we doing?
I thought parts of it were good. I kind of enjoyed the Tenzan and Ishii bits, but everything else, I then realized I was watching Togi Makabe in 2023, and it would. Yeah.
I actually all the Tenzan bits reminded me of the Nakanishi retirement match.
That was a great match, and kind of got lost in the shuffle because that was the last match before COVID hit, right?
No, it was. I think it was the next to last show. It's within that string of like 3 shows where you've got, that might have been the final night, but it's that part of that 3 shows at Korakuen where you've got that main eventing one night. And then you had on another night, Golden Ace against God with a very hot Korakuen crowd. And then there was like a third one. I think the third one was like a Shingo Ishii main event. I'm not sure of how each 3 lined up against one another, but yeah, it's one of, if it's not the last, it's the next to last. Yeah, and that really is a great match. But all the sequences with Tenzan very much gave me that similar vibe of, you've got these 3 guys in Okada, Tanahashi, who maybe needs to think about retirement himself, and Ishii, basically taking an old horse out back and trying to put it down. Ishii, which I know is typical for Ishii, is like no selling the Korakuen clubs, I think is what we're allowed to call them now. But there's like these sequences where all 3 are teaming up together to basically bully the fuck out of Tenzan and to keep him down. And it just had this very, at times, melancholic feel to it, which was not helped by the VTR that they opened the match with. That I'm watching that VTR and I'm like, is Nakanishi going to retire at the end of this match if he doesn't win? Because it had that vibes. He needs to retire. Makabe needs to retire. I actually, night 1, I really enjoyed the sequence between Tiger Mask and Ishii. And if you were to give me, like if you made NJC next year another all open weight deal, and you gave me like a round 1 Tiger Mask Ishii match, I would be very happy. I think that at least I would be all for it. And I thought out of the 3 on the challenger side, Tiger Mask is the only one that has any business still being in the ring, because he could still go. But the other 2 need to like fuck off.
Yeah, I do always kind of actually look forward to Tiger Mask's participation in, was he in Super Junior Tag League last year? I can't remember. I know he had the whole Flying Tigers thing going on, but yeah, when he gets a tap on the shoulder, he can do sort of the grumpy old man thing with the fact that he is also actually still a tremendous base. And if he's got younger, sprightly guys flying around for him, then it's actually pretty good fun and very watchable. You got me down a bit of a rabbit hole, actually, because I was looking up what the final match before COVID was, and then the next match after that little hiatus there. So the last match before COVID was New Japan Road Social Welfare Charity event on Wednesday, February 26, 2020, which was main evented by Ospreay and Okada versus Bushi and Naito. So I guess they were sort of building towards what were they building towards? I know the anniversary event was just around the corner, wasn't it?
I get like
we wanted Naito Hiromu.
I forgot that show even existed. Was it in Korakuen?
The one that I just said?
Yeah.
No, it was in Okinawa, the Okinawa Prefectural Budokan.
Was it?
And I don't actually know if this was televised,
Yeah,
but that was the last event.
Okay.
And okay, here's a little trivia question for you. You may not get this. What was the first televised match following COVID, like following the hiatus? So the Together Project special,
right,
Monday, June 15th, in the unknown location. Do you remember what the opening match was?
I remember Tana crying.
I'll give you a clue.
Okay.
Do you want a big clue?
Yeah, give me a big
clue. It was a match that took place in this year's G1 Climax in the A block.
Well, then the only... Was it something involving Ren and Shota?
Neither of them.
Oh, shit. If you tell me Chase Owens, I'm going to cry.
No, not Chase Owens.
No, Suji?
Yes, he was one half of it.
Okay. Suji Sonata?
No, it wasn't Sonata.
All right. No, just give it to me.
Suji versus Gabe Kidd.
Oh,
And
okay.
an 8-minute 43-second win for Yota Tsuji. So yeah, interesting bit of history there.
Yeah.
I wonder if I would hope that at some point in the future, Tsuji and Gabe get to have an extended singles feud, and that will be just an interesting little caveat for that. Them being the first match back following the COVID hiatus. So there you go. Absolutely unrelated to what we're discussing, but hey, that Zack versus Kojima match, that was pretty fucking good, wasn't it? I was watching that thinking. And this Kojima thought always pops into my head every time I watch him very competently wrestling pretty high profile singles matches. You know, the CM Punk match at Forbidden Door 2. This man's still not got his G1 goodbye run, and he probably never will. But I still think it would be very cool if he did get that G1 goodbye run.
No, yeah, it would be cool. I don't think it's going to happen. I think that time is greatly past. If you wanted to give that to me in the form of like a little mini NJC run, I think that's a better chance of happening. But no, he looked fine. I had the joke note of, you know, since apparently Zack is defending this belt against the dads now, when does Hanma get a chance at it? Who I still think moves better than Tanahashi.
Yeah, I remember at some point in the Never Six Man match, I just sort of tuned out a bit, and then I started paying attention again. And Chris Charlton's talking about, and yeah, this guy gives it his all, but people are asking whether or not he should be in the G1 anymore. Maybe he's had his last G1 entry, and I was like, oh, they must be talking about Tanahashi. No, he's talking about Ishii, and I was like, no, fuck that noise. You should be asking questions about the ace.
Yeah. No, I am fully, and I've had these conversations in the Discord. I am fully on board with, if you got to go, and I do think you need to go back down to 20 men in the G1. I am all for cutting Tanahashi. I get that you have to, that it's Tanahashi and he should have a one last run. I don't even want to fucking see that. I don't want to see a Tanahashi G1 run. It'll be competent. He'll cry after every match. But he just needs to go. Or at least just get out of the G1 and just be a full-time dad. But the problem is who takes over Hantai. Because Hantai has a serious lack of leadership. And I think at this point that's the only reason why Tanahashi's not.
Should be Shota. That should be him.
Should be him. I think we're not there yet. I think if he has like a really great singles match at Wrestle Kingdom, then if you want at New Year's Dash for that kind of passing of the baton to happen, I would be completely okay with that. But yeah, I don't fuck sentimentality. I don't see Tana in another G1. I'm sorry. And I'm hurting a lot of feelings, and people are going to be like, I don't know, burning little boozes in effigy as I say this, but nah, just stop it. Just please. Put us out of our misery. Put him out of his misery. It's bad enough you got to watch him in World Tag League. That's brutal enough.
God, yeah, if I have to watch 9 or however many it is Bebop tag matches, I'm going to shoot myself. Okay, let's move on to the main event, which was, I thought, a lot of fun. We had an elimination match with 5 of the United Empire guys against the LIJ guys. And obviously, these guys sort of pairing off with their little feuds that they're having together. But the Ospreay and Tsuji segments of this match were very, very exciting and has whetted my appetite for their match coming up. Is it Kobe? They're wrestling each other, I think, for the US title.
Yeah, I kind of wish that was happening at Royal Quest, but Kobe's fine.
Same. I thought it was going to be. And whilst I'm excited with Ospreay Zack, and that's going to be great, I really wanted Ospreay Tsuji. And I do look at the Ospreay Tsuji matchmaking, and if I were New Japan Booker and Ospreay said to me, yeah, look, I think I'm done after January, who do you want me to put over? Or who do you want me to work? Not necessarily put over, but who do you want me to work with between now and then? Tsuji would be close to the top of the list, right?
Oh God, yeah. It'd be one of our Reiwa Musketeers, right? And maybe Ren just from the standpoint of...
I think they've already had a match, actually, if I'm not mistaken. I think on one of the US events.
You can... Well, was it... No, I'm thinking of him versus Uemura. No, it was him. Was it him and Ren at
They've had two
Battle in the Valley?
So, of course, they met, obviously, they met in the 2019 Best of the Super Juniors.
Oh, I forgot about that.
And they also, it was Battle in the Valley 2021. You're correct.
Yeah, I think I reviewed that show. God, I think I had to do like 5 shows that episode. But just because they've met before doesn't mean that they can't meet again. And that was a few years ago.
Yeah, Ren's a busted flush at this point. Don't want to be wasting one of Ospreay's final New Japan matches on him. Let's give it to Tsuji. Huge Suge.
No, I'm all for huge Suge, and I would not have a problem with that. But I also wouldn't have a problem with Ren. 2 years since they've last met.
Yes, it says the person who listed multiple problems you had with Ren about 20 minutes ago.
Right, but they're fixable. And a lot of it is just in his presentation and the fact that his booking is aimless. And we talk about all the time that there's very few guys, if any, on this roster that when you give them a tap on the shoulder and you give them a direction to go in, that they step up and do it. And that's my thing with Ren. I'm not claiming that Ren is on fraud watch or any of that bullshit. I'm not. Ren is not my Watto, as Watto is for Damon. His booking is aimless. He feels a little aimless, and I think it could be easily fixed where you just
with a rhinoceros beetle helmet. Yeah, we've done this.
Possibly. I mean, come on, a Wrestle Kingdom TV title belt, Zack versus Ren, and Ren comes in with the rhinoceros beetle helmet. Zack,
or actually bring his pet rhinoceros beetle to corner him because carrying the towel with him.
and then Mad Mikey can do a spot with the beetle, and it'll be fun. But no, that's my thing with Ren. Yes, I have concerns, but I'm hoping that those concerns can be easily alleviated with just a little direction and even a modicum of a push, any sign of something from the booking committee that they've got a plan for him and that he's just not kind of wandering aimlessly.
How are you feeling on Jeff Cobb versus Naito? Because they had some good stuff in this elimination match, and they've been running this amusing angle with Naito having scrawled out a contract for the Wrestle Kingdom match on a piece of paper and given it to Jeff Cobb, who ripped it up into pieces. So they finished off this elimination match together. It was Cobb who eliminated Naito at the end via the over-the-top rope ring out. Is that getting you buzzed for destruction in Ryogoku?
Yeah, I love Jeff Cobb, and I'm trying to think if Jeff Cobb has had a bad feud since he joined United Empire. And I can't think of...
I was going to say Jeff Cobb versus his own cardiovascular system during the 2019 G1, but as you say, pre-United Empire, yes.
But just everything that he's done, he's just great in. I don't think he gets credit for being the snarky, sassy promo that he is, which is a perfect foil to Naito, so they can be, jerk-offs together. And no, so I'm very excited. Naito always bumps like a madman. So he's, it's going to be good fun watching Jeff Cobb ragdoll the fuck out of him. And Cobb is, still, even though he's an official member of the 1982 club, Cobb still has great, hops and for a big man, he can move and get some height and things like that. So I'm very excited for that match.
All right, well, I think that about covers it. I mean, in terms of previewing upcoming events, I think there's only one televised event that's on next week, and it is the Blue Justice.
Yeah, I was about to say, yeah, I thought it was Blue Justice being like tomorrow.
It is tomorrow, yeah. So by the time you hear this, it will probably have finished.
Yeah.
But, yeah, that is the Blue Justice 13 Segi Saikai show in Chiba, in the Toganai Arena, where I guess the most notable match on this is the beginning of the best of 7 series, match 1 with Wato, Shota, and Nagata against Ren, Despi, and Suzuki. So there's that. Any thoughts on that?
I just hope it ends with setting up a singles match for Ren and Shota. And then, all those 3 guys against one another, you look at that and you go, okay, I can see where you end up with the Shota Ren singles. You have another Nagata Suzuki, because it's Suzuki, right?
Yeah, I was wondering if we might, Ren Nagata Ren. What the fuck am I talking about? My brain has just stopped working, Booze.
Yeah.
Good Lord. Right, I'm going to take a deep breath, try it again. Yuji Nagata versus Minoru Suzuki singles match. I wonder if that might happen in the future. Wasn't worth it. The absolute mental battle I had to overcome to get that sentence out.
Yeah, and we talked earlier about the possibility of a Wato Desperado singles match in the future. So it lines up for that. So if at the end of this 7 trial series, if we're not getting that, I will be sad and surprised.
If that doesn't happen, I'm going to put my foot through the TV and send Abari the bill. That's how upset I'll be. All right, Booze, anything else you would like to discuss in the world of New Japan or outside of the world of New Japan before we wrap it up today? Because I'm impressed. We've managed to do 2 hours and 10 minutes where very little has happened.
Yeah. No, I mean, I'm surprised I didn't get an Ibushi question, but I was kind of waiting for that. I know. Takoyaki tummy Ibushi.
Yeah, nobody enjoyed the comedy of me putting him in my fat fuck block when I did
No, I did.
I know you did.
I loved it. I like when you did that.
Everyone else sold it.
Yeah, but people are so like we've talked about this before, that people are weird when it comes to Ibushi. I'm sorry. I watched that GLEAT elimination 10-man tag, and everybody was sitting there posting the gif of Ibushi doing that dive in Sumo Hall from the top of an entrance. And they're all like, oh my God, he's back. And I'm like, what the fuck are you all watching? This was like the saddest, slowest, pathetic looking dive I've ever seen. And I know some of it was because apparently the night before, Ibushi was dealing with like tonsillitis and a significant fever, and was like, yeah, I think I can talk the doctor into like letting me out of the hospital so I can fulfill my commitment. But he put on weight, and just watching him make that climb and then do that dive, which looked like it was happening in slow-mo when it was happening in real time, was just like, what are you doing, son? What? I don't get it. But people are like, no, he's back. I'm like, no, he's got a takoyaki tummy, and I like takoyaki too, but I'm also not trying to reclaim my youth and wrestle like I did in 2018. So, or 2017, really.
This version of Ibushi, Tony can have him. He's welcome to him.
Oh God, yeah, and just I hope it's like, if you want to say he's washed, I won't stop you. I'm not ready to go that far yet, because he's only done 5 matches since WrestleMania weekend after an 18-month layoff, and he can't stay healthy. His ankle was taped up for GLEAT and for Wembley, so the ankle's not 100%. there's a chance that the shoulder was not 100% for the WrestleMania weekend shows against Mike Bailey and Joey Janela, which, as fucked up as this sounds, and if you had told me in the beginning of 2023, I would be uttering the statement that since his return, the best Ibushi has looked is against Joey Janela, I'd have told you that you're insane and I must be drunk when I utter that sentence. I am not drunk, but that's the best he's looked. And I hope it's just an issue of ring rust, and that if he can just get some steady time and steady matches, he can get back into kind of the shape that we're used to seeing him in and the wrestling that we're used to seeing him in. And if not, hey, Father Time comes for everybody, and you want to stay the weight that you're at, I've got no problem with that. Just change your style. Be more of a Shinya Hashimoto, ground and pounder, just kick the shit out of people, slap the shit out of people, and do moves like that, and not try to reclaim your 2017 youth of doing dives.
Well, I'm hoping that he can be reunited with Kenny for a sustained run, so I can bring back the old J-Cast favourite segment of Joel treating backstage rumour and innuendo and storylines as verifiable facts in shipping two wrestlers in a relationship, or whatever that was called.
Oh my God, yeah.
That was my finest hour.
that was good. No, and yeah, ultimately that's what not the shipping part, but yeah, if we could get like a nice sustained proper GL tag run in AEW, I got no problem with that. And who knows, maybe we'll get that after Kenny's done with Takeshita.
Culminating in a huge match with Aussie Open.
Yeah. And
that's the main event of Wembley next year. And then everyone can say, we told you, Joel, you were wrong. And
then Ibushi can pin Fletcher for the win. And then after Aubrey Edwards, after she counts 3, and then to keep the shipping part of it going, Kenny and Ibushi can make out on top of Fletcher.
There you go, Tony. You can have that one for free.
And that would make everybody happy. And then in the interim, maybe Ibushi can, we'll get at Wrestle Dream. Is it Wrestle Dream, Wrestle Appropriation, whatever Tony's calling this show that will probably not have any New Japan talent on it. Yeah, just give me Ibushi against Hologram Inoki. Make that the Emmy.
Easy.
Please.
Book it.
You
heard it here first. All right, Booze. That's all I have to say. Anything else you want to discuss? Any plugs before we wrap it up?
No, I'm good.
Excellent. Well, thank you very much. It's an absolute pleasure, as always, to talk to you. Thank you so much for stepping in. Great show, even though when I started, so the kids are running around screaming, I've got no microphone, thinking, what the fuck is this going to sound like? Hopefully, all right. I've had a good time here. Anyway, it's time for me to go to bed, so I'm going to wrap it up here. redcircle.com/shows/super-j-cast. If you want to give some money for this absolute tripe we serve up every week, that is where you can go. A Discord link you can get if you send me a direct message on Twitter at Cobra Kawaii, and prowrestlingtees.com/super-j-cast for our great t-shirts. Thank you to editor Dan. You can find him at LousyHero219 on Twitter. Subscribe to the Voices of Wrestling podcast network for other great shows. Give us a 5-snake review on iTunes. Follow us on Twitter at the Super J-Cast. Thank you everybody for listening, and goodbye.
Hello everyone, my name is Taylor.
And I'm Kelly.
And we are the co-hosts of Jumping Bomb Audio, the podcast all about Joshi Pro Wrestling here on the Voices of Wrestling podcast network. Every other Monday, we are with you talking about the biggest news in Joshi, along with show reviews, previews, and much, much more.
So if you're new to Joshi or you've been a longtime fan, this is the show for you. We've got something for everyone here. So check us out, Jumping Bomb Audio.
Music. It's not just part of our daily lives, it's part of our wrestling fandom as well, and it has been for decades. That's where this show comes in. Music of the Mat, the podcast devoted exclusively to the music of pro wrestling, hosted by Andrew Rich. Hey, that's me. Each episode delivers a different topic with a variety of great guests, fun conversations, musical analysis, and of course, a heartfelt pun or two. New episodes drop every other Tuesday on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, or your podcast app of choice. Check out Music of the Mat only on the Voices of Wrestling Podcast Network.